How many times do we see a game featuring an official who is looking right at something and gets it wrong? Latest example, the Amari Cooper play along the sideline at the Titans 40 on Sunday, where he's clearly in bounds, makes the catch, he's in bounds, it would have been a touchdown. The official who was right there said he went out of bounds. He's the only person in the world who thought Amari Cooper was out of bounds. And it may have just been brain fart. It may have just been stuff happens. But it's a prime example of why officials need to be full-time. Because when they're not full-time, it becomes easy for someone like me to say, hey, if that guy had been a full-time official, maybe he wouldn't have made that mistake. If that was his only professional focus, if he wasn't distracted by his regular job, if he didn't have an issue where I got to get to the airport after the game because I got to get home because I got this going on tomorrow in my law practice or whatever it is that I'm doing. If your only focus is this game, here and now, and when I'm done, I'm going to go to Dallas or Kansas City or some central location. We're going to have meetings for a day or two. We're going to focus on everything as it relates to trends and making sure that there is consistency among the calls and doing things to ensure that guys don't make mistakes in those moments. If you do that, yes, there will still be mistakes, but it becomes much harder to say that the mistakes are the fault of the league because the league treats it as an oh, by the way, occupation. The league has been cheap about officiating. It's been cheap about the head of officiating. Dean Blandino himself, after he left the NFL for Fox, told me on PFT PM 5 years ago or thereabouts. The NFL doesn't value that position of the VP of officiating. That means the NFL is cheap. The NFL is cheap in so many ways. All the technologies that could be embraced, whether it's at the goal line, whether it's something higher tech than 2 sticks with 10 yards of chain that sometimes get bungled up and sometimes requires an index card to determine whether or not the first down was achieved. There's so many ways the game could be and should be reimagined. I think they need to tear it all down, the officiating function, and build it from the ground up in light of what's available today. But whether it's money, and someone suggested to me recently, it may just be they don't want to put the effort into it. It could be laziness. Why do we need to do it? Why do we need to do it? Game's fine. Game's fine. Bad calls happen. For every bad call, there's a good call. You get burned this time, next time it'll help you. Why are you complaining? And I remember the time that Jeff Fisher, who was coaching the Rams at the time and was on the competition committee, co-chair with Rich McKay, he made some flippant remark along the lines of, well, we want to give you guys some things to talk about in the media. Well, thanks, I guess, if you want us to talk about how the NFL is cheap, how the NFL is lazy, how the NFL isn't willing to do what needs to be done to safeguard the integrity of the game. As someone said to me recently, if we're going to get twisted up about integrity of the game issues because some guy is sitting in the locker room during off-season workouts, placing a bet on his phone on some other sport, and that's an affront to the integrity of the game, why are we not doing everything we can to ensure the best possible officiating, the best possible technology, the best possible calls, getting it right more often than not? And yeah, you know what? It wouldn't be good for my business if I didn't have these things to talk about from time to time. But I'd gladly make that trade-off because we'd find other things to talk about. And at least we wouldn't be worried about the possibility of the NFL being hindered by some sort of legislation, prosecution, regulation that really takes the heart out of the game and puts it in the control of bureaucrats who may not have the best interests of the game at heart. The people who currently run the league need to start acting like they've got the best interests of the game at heart and not their own best interests, whether it's how much money they're going to make, how much time they're going to spend working, because they don't want to take the time necessary to have the meetings and put in the effort and make the arrangements to rebuild the officiating function. So that's where we are. That's where the NFL needs to go. I'm not holding my breath, but the good news is, as Jeff Fisher said, it gives me something to talk about.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.